Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here, youtube.com/Steve and Larson, available wherever podcasts can be found. And, of course, taped live at the Twitch, twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. Before we get into the big news from the weekend, couple notes. Number one, want to give a shout out to our new patrons over at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Man, we've got this thing now, The Numbers Don't Lie. It's an exclusive show for our Friendo Club TV members. It's what we call our paywall. It's Twitch subs, YouTube channel memberships, and of course on the Patreon at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Couple new patrons, Fetal Unicorn, Nick May, Callum Mann, David Dodson, and Anthony R. Thank you very much for your support. Larson, speaking of The Numbers Don't Lie, do we know who is our latest subject for this Thursday when we film it live so that people can vote?
Give me a moment. I had forgotten about that. Everything else going on in the wrestling world, but let me check.
So much going on in the world of wrestling. You also get Power Rank live on Tuesdays, our exclusive show. And
all right, do you want the results?
Please, yeah.
All right, so it was the original DX, China, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and our subject for episode 4, Numbers Don't Lie, will be China.
Whoa! Wow! What a great pick, everybody! So you can vote on every week. We put 3 names up. The $10 and up patrons get to vote on that, and then $10 and up. And then at $5, you get to vote in the survey. Or if you show up here live at a Twitch stream, you can vote. Or if you're a YouTube channel member. So we offer, for the friendos who are here and engaged and all that kind of stuff, we do that. So, there's that. And then we also have an announcement that's kind of sad, but is kind of necessary for our own business. We had said that we were going to go to Vegas. We had made plans for Vegas. For of course SummerSlam. We had planned on doing like a SummerSlam but not doing SummerSlam thing, but given I saw this on Twitter, Elvira, you remember Elvira?
Of course,
the legend, right? Yeah. She pulled out of like 2 comic convention signings because of the Delta.
Yeah, and
that's always sort of been in the back of our heads a little bit. And then on top of that, once AEW announced, basically, I know they haven't announced it, but come on. They've announced it. United Center, Rampage, Friday before SummerSlam. CM Punk is probably going to be coming back to wrestling. And it's like, we had, literally, I'm going to be pulling into town probably like hours before that happens. There's no way for us as a business to do what we're supposed to be doing and covering that kind of stuff. There's no way we can do that.
This could be a massive weekend in the world of professional wrestling.
It's a big, big deal. And so we're like, hey, you know what? I hate to do this, but we got to pull out of Vegas. So no Friendo meetup there. I'm looking forward to the future, though, when things start really settling down. We get more shots in arms, hopefully, and we don't have to deal with this stuff anymore. At the next maybe AEW, if there's like a star cast at an AEW, or maybe, WrestleMania. We'll do like Mania Without Mania. We'll do WrestleCon, do a live show. Just the stars weren't really lining up for this Vegas thing.
Didn't seem like it, no.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, we're going to be doing the SummerSlam weekend from home again.
Yeah.
And
we'll be here at the usual spots. Me sitting here, you sitting there.
Yeah.
Bummed out that won't get opportunity to meet a lot of the friendos. They're going to be there for SummerSlam. Because whenever we do these type of trips, that's always the highlight, is meeting everybody.
Absolutely. I feel like, dude,
chatting them up. It's always great.
I feel like, I know this is like a little less than a year away, but I feel like Double or Nothing Vegas next year, that's probably got to be a sure bet. They might do a star cast for that, and if not, maybe we'll go anyways,
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. There's going to be plenty of opportunities now that things are hopefully going to be winding back down over the next couple months in terms of this whole global pandemic thing, that we'll get out on the road and everybody will be safe and we won't be, worried about coughing in each other's mouths, because there's nothing I like better than to cough in people's mouths, Larson.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, it's been kind of a crazy weekend.
You got that right.
Wrestling. I was driving
to the Bay Area on Saturday and happened to look at my phone Don't worry, traffic was stopped. I wasn't moving. Traffic was bad.
Oh, I do the same
check my phone.
I do the same thing.
Anyway,
I do it when I'm going like 90 miles an hour, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't do that. And you're like, hey, you're driving. And I say, yeah, what's up? And you say, Bray Wyatt got released. And I just about, it's a good thing I was stopped, because otherwise I've been like.
It'd been like Toonses. It'd been like Toonses.
Yeah. Larson, no. It blew my mind that he would get released. But that's not even the top story right now. That's not even the top story. You did a video on that Saturday. Thank you for that, Steve.
Yeah.
Because I was in traffic, and then I was busy for hours afterwards. Didn't even get back to the in-laws till like 4:00.
Yeah. We're still going to talk about that, because we got also. I've been anxious to get your thoughts on stuff.
And there's more information since Saturday. So
correct. Yeah, we're going to talk about it in a sec. Yeah.
Yeah, we will. But first, could NXT's top star be a free agent soon? Baby.
Boom.
The Wrestling Inc.
Right.
Is reporting that Adam Cole could be on the market towards the end of this month, stating, quote, Adam Cole had been rumored to have his contract expire in 2024, but Wrestling Inc. has learned it is expiring this month after SummerSlam. Cole's contract was actually up after the Great American Bash, but he extended it. They continue. Cole has a lot of options in front of him, including companies who are not even in the current wrestling space. Fightful Select, by the way, go subscribe to Fightful. He could be doing some gaming stuff, maybe. Fightful Select, go subscribe to Fightful Select. They're the best. Added that the thought within WWE is that Cole's deal was up. This is within WWE, like the company.
Yeah.
The thought within WWE was that Cole's deal was up in December, but then the company realized it actually expired in July. But then Cole signed an extension to work through SummerSlam weekend. PW Insider has more, confirming Wrestling Inc.'s report, adding some more details, knowing that the realization of Cole's expiring deal, quote, took a number of WWE executives by surprise, as the belief was Cole was locked in through January 2022. Multiple sources within WWE confirmed the story, admitting frustration that had become public. PW Insider can also confirm the timing of the company learning of the Cole contract issue very much lines up with the timing of the departure of Canyon Ceman.
Yeah. Man.
So there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
There's the prospect of Adam Cole being a free agent, which is in theory great, because it's great for him.
Yeah.
He's got tons of leverage.
Oh yeah.
He is NXT's top guy. He's in the contention for being the greatest, one of the NXT greatest superstars. Period.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely,
like him.
Yeah.
It's Finn. It's Asuka.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we're gonna get to this in a little bit. He's got history with a lot of people in AEW. So if you hear he's a free agent, you think, oh man, him in AEW, that would be outstanding.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot to unpack here. It's in one sense kind of mind-boggling, but in another sense, because hearing stories about how WWE can be run at times, that no one would be on top of the fact that his contract expired or was set to expire very quickly. But then you hear about the Aleister Black thing where no one revised his contract to make it a 90-day no-compete rather than a 30-day when he got brought up. I guess this type of administrative stuff falls through the cracks sometimes there. But this seems like a pretty significant one where the guy who's the cornerstone, more or less, or one of the cornerstones of NXT is like, surprise, free agent.
It's like they were able to go literal decades not needing to be on top of shit, because what were they going to do? They were going to leave? No, probably not. Oh, well, we don't have to worry about this stuff. Now they have to be on top of this stuff. Yeah, it's weird that they need like competence now after seemingly that not being a necessity. I believe he does have leverage. Maybe not as, given that it's been how many years now, and he had one really cool spot on the main roster when they invaded SmackDown during Survivor Series 2019. But beyond, and yeah, he's huge in NXT. Beyond that, I don't know if Vince would really care if he left. I would hope that he did, but I don't know. It's funny because so I did that video on Wrestle Juice on my solo gig, on my side gig this past, and we'll talk a little bit more about my thoughts on that because I want to get yours about the Bray Wyatt stuff. But my general thesis was Vince wants versatile guys who can be heel, they could be face, they could do comedy, they could do serious. Adam Cole is all that. The only thing he's not is like 6'2", you know? But like neither was Daniel Bryan, and they seemingly are furious, if the reports are to be believed, that he left. You would think that Adam Cole would say right now, hey, you need to put me on SmackDown or Raw or something.
Well, here's the flip side of that, though, is exactly if he wants to go, he could see the track record, by and large, especially recently, of NXT call-ups and be like, nah, no thank you. You know, we don't know him. We don't know what his ambitions are. We don't know where he wants to take his career, obviously. But, you know, given how even as recently as Karrion Kross, someone gets called to NXT, and instead of watching this guy wrestle and thinking, wow, this guy's got a future, NXT's really producing some stars. You're watching his first match and you're thinking, why do they have their champion lose to Jeff Hardy under 2 minutes? You know, like from a creative standpoint, it's not as if the main roster is really fulfilling the potential promise of these NXT call-ups. That's
true. And you're right. We don't know the guy. And I don't know if it would be if he would look at, you know, contemporaries, I guess, like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, who've been treated pretty well. If you look at Daniel Bryan and say, hey, I can do that. Or if he'd look at Karrion Kross and be like, I don't want any part of that. That's not my jam. I don't know.
Or Alistair.
You know. So yeah, I don't know what he would want. But it is crazy that they would let this happen. They'd be like, oh my God, he doesn't have a contract now. He's just sort of, you know, and they all of a sudden they have to do an extension. I don't know. It's interesting stuff. It's funny. WWE is just doing really interesting things right now, to say the least.
Yeah. They're making some head scratching decisions, to say the least. Before we move on to Bray stuff, Britt Baker, of course, she is AEW Women's Champion. Also, she is Adam Cole's girlfriend. She was recently interviewed by the Daily Star, I believe that's out of the United Kingdom, if I'm correct on that, and was asked about Adam Cole potentially joining AEW, to which he said, quote, I think it's funny when people say he has to go to AEW because of Britt, because there are so many more people in the AEW who have played a bigger role in the wrestling side of his life. People like the Young Bucks, Kenny. He was in the Bullet Club for the majority of the indie career people know him for. He has such a history in AEW that if he came here, the storylines are endless, but he's happy where he is. So if he were to jump ship and come my way, that would be awesome. But if he stays in WWE forever, then I'd be happy too. I just want him to be happy.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. And you know, you would think that given that he said that he signed that extension and was like, hey, I'll see what my options are. You would think that he might not be itchy to leave. You know, if he was, you'd think that he would be just gone. So it does seem like staying there and seeing what his options are.
Well, like when you texted me last night about with this news, like the first thing I said was he's going to put over Kyle O'Reilly, and then
and it could be, you know? It could be, hey, I want to do what I can do for my friends before I bolt.
Yeah. And like hats off to him too, if it's a situation where he's in the midst of a story, especially a story with someone he's close with, to see that through before saying, all right, now it's time to weigh my options, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You don't want to leave your dude high and dry. But yeah, I mean, obviously the guy has, you know, it would be, for anybody who followed his career pre-NXT, it would be an absolute dream for him to go to AEW. It would be a massive deal for AEW, who seems to be picking up, you know, a lot of smart pieces along the way, making a lot of smart moves. So yeah, I mean, the next couple months are going to be the next month is going to be really interesting to see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. Who would you like to see him if he heads to AEW? Let's just do this because it's fun. A faction for Adam Cole in AEW. I mean, the great thing is you'd have if you play out this super elite stuff. Adam Cole, Daniel Bryan, they both throw a lot of wrenches potentially in that storyline.
So originally it was supposed to be Adam Cole and the Cody role of the Bullet Club storyline in New Japan.
Right, yeah.
Where it leads to them splitting, you know? So have Adam Cole show up in AEW. Mm-hmm. He's the one that kind of starts to cause the super elite to break up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Middle of a match, tag match. He's tagging with Kenny. He's doing all the Adam Cole babies he can do.
That was my favorite tag match of all time. You can take the Golden Lovers versus the Young Bucks. Give me the one where Adam Cole is just acting like a total jackass. It was great.
At least a dozen times you hear Adam Cole baby.
I would explode if you just hear, and I know he had like a different theme that like Britt used for a second, I think, in AEW early on.
Want the Adam Cole baby.
I want the New Japan baby. I want that to kick in. Oh, it'd be brilliant. It'd be absolutely brilliant. I wonder what it'd be funny like if he was able to convince Tony Khan to buy a licensed theme. It'd probably be something nerdy like Halo, like a Halo theme song or something, something nerdy like that. So yeah, I don't know the stuff about like them not knowing like the right hand not knowing what the left hand's doing. My God, that's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
I understand why they're upset why that got out publicly, but at the same time, they got to take care of their own. They got to take care of their stuff. You
got to take care of your stuff, man. Like, what are you doing over there? All right, let's take a quick break here to get a word in from the sponsor of today's show, Liquid Death. So, Larson,
yeah,
we're right in the middle of the dog days of summer, and man, it is hot. But when I'm on the verge of heat overload, I reach for a can of Liquid Death and put my thirst down like a dog.
Yeah, this may look like a can of beer, but it's not. Inside this awesome-looking tall boy can is 16.9 ounces of mountain water that will brutally murder your thirst, hence the name on the can, Liquid Death. And while the can does look cool, what makes it even better is that aluminum cans are infinitely recyclable, unlike plastic bottles, which mostly end up in a landfill. See, plastic bottles, they're a money loser for recycling centers, but aluminum cans actually make them some money.
Yeah, that's right. Also, Liquid Death donates 10% of their profits from every can sold to help bring death upon plastic pollution. So if you want to put your thirst down like a dog during these dog days of summer, go to liquiddeath.com/GIR to get a free set of cozies with your first order of any case of water.
Or grab some at your neighborhood Whole Foods or 7-Eleven. Before we get back to the show, let's get a word in from our sponsor, Raycon. Hey, Steve, guess what?
What? Tell me what.
I think I'm going to head back to the gym.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm saying goodbye to lifting cinder blocks. They're falling apart, basically, in my garage. And hello to pumping some real iron at the gym. And I made myself brand new playlist to get myself fired up for it. And of course, I'll be rocking my Raycon wireless earbuds to help fuel my workout.
Man, that's great to hear, friendo. And whether you're like Larson here and need some upbeat music to pump you up for a trip to the gym, or maybe some chill tunes for a mellow vibe after a stressful day, maybe you just want to keep up to date on the latest podcasts like Going In Raw. Regardless of what you're listening to, Raycons are the best way to listen.
Raycons come with a bunch of gel tips in different sizes, meaning you'll get maximum comfort and a great in-ear fit that won't stick out of your ears like some other brands. Plus, Raycons have a 32-hour battery life, meaning you can listen to what you want, when you want, and you can listen to it for a really long time.
And they start at half the price of other premium audio brands, but sound just as good. Raycons come with a 45-day happiness guarantee, so really, you can't lose. Create your own soundtrack with Raycon. Right now, Going In Raw listeners can get 15% off their Raycon order at buyraycon.com/raw.
That's buyraycon.com/raw to save 15% on Raycons. Buyraycon.com/raw. All right, let's talk about Bray Wyatt's release. So obviously that shocked the world this weekend. Fightful Select has some more details. Knowing that although talent was told that Wyatt's release was due to budget cuts, a consensus among those Fightful spoke to thought that it was that, quote, almost nobody in the company truly believed this was a budget cut, adding that Wyatt was a known merch mover. Fightful is reporting that Wyatt's release, as well as a rationale provided, created, quote, a gigantic amount of frustration with the roster, with several longtime stars feeling as if their own jobs could potentially be in jeopardy. Andrew Zarian tweeted today that he was, quote, hearing a lot of frustration from the networks regarding Bray's release. Quote, Bray's release is really disappointing and a little scary that top stars are being let go. This is according to one of Zarian's network sources. He continues, you have to remember perception is everything.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, the dude was all about spectacle and theatrics, which is what WWE does really, really well. I mean, it's funny because, like, I do think that there's any number of very interesting things you could do with the Fiend in WWE, but given how they book things in WWE, I can understand why he potentially might not be seen as something that they would want to deal with. You know, like I get, so the main thesis, I guess, argument I was making in my Wrestle Juice video was that Vince does want wrestlers who can fill any number of slots. He'd prefer guys like, you know, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, Sheamus, Riddle, who obviously is incredibly dramatic in the ring, and then on the outside the ring, I think Riddle's like the guy that Vince McMahon looks at as like, man, this is the kind of guy that I want, you know, who brings like killer matches. And on the outside of the ring, can do any number of things, but comedy especially, because Vince loves comedy. And Bray doesn't fit that. He's a creative mind. His character is a horror movie villain. I mean, you mentioned this, you know, last night we were talking about it. How it's like what he does seems better suited for Hollywood, anyways, for like actual narrative stuff instead of the world of pro wrestling.
Because there've been several times during the Fiend's run where like the story is interesting, and then they get into a wrestling ring, and I'm like, there's a disconnect here between how the story in terms he's telling outside the ring should continue and resolve itself versus kind of the tropes of pro wrestling that we're forcing upon the story. And it was always kind of a disconnect in my mind. And you know, if Wyndham Rotunda has stories he wants to tell, you know, this is speculation. It seems WWE might not be the best platform for how he wants to tell those stories. Now, who's to say that another company can't be, if he's given a little more leeway in terms of, or a lot more leeway in terms of what he can do creatively. And maybe it's a situation where he's like, oh, you know, maybe the stories I want to tell just aren't suited for pro wrestling. Maybe there's other avenues I can use to tell these stories. Don't know.
It's such a weird thing. Like, Vince seemed really high on the Fiend because of, I think, all the spectacle he brought and just how creative the character was. But he was never, but I think maybe he even understood, man, like, I took this guy all the way to the top. He was Universal Champion. I took this guy to the top. Now what do I do with him? You know, it's like, does he fall to the mid card? And I like that AEW, one thing about AEW is that, yes, they have, their card is all over the place. Like, you can have a Miro match, a TNT title match, main event of Dynamite. You can have, I mean, generally on their pay-per-views, because there's only 4 of them a year, generally you're going to have the AEW title, the world title, as the main event. Generally speaking, that's going to be the case.
Yes.
Right. But like on Dynamite, man, they place a heavy emphasis on the thing that they want to promote, regardless of where it's in the card. You got Darby Allin versus Ethan Page in the main event on Dynamite in a special coffin match. Didn't involve any titles. Where do you consider that on the card? Well, it's in the mid card, but it main evented, you know?
Yeah.
They put an emphasis on the stories they want to tell, as opposed to, well, this guy's in the main event, or this guy's in the mid card. He's going to have that match is going to be in the mid card. It's really interesting how they rotate their card so it's all over the place, and it makes everybody look strong in their own way without needing titles associated with it. It's very interesting the way they do that.
Also with the Fiend, I think because he had his return match against Finn at SummerSlam, whatever year that was, 2019, 2018. And I believe by the end of the year, he had beat Seth for the title.
Yeah.
That was too soon.
Yeah.
You're pretty much instantly booking yourself into a corner. Because you've established this guy is basically unbeatable. And then they go and book him as unbeatable and then have Goldberg beat him relatively easily.
Yeah.
And so whatever some of the mystique, I'm not going to say all the mystique, but some of the mystique, the character loses some of it because, all right, you've been booked a certain way. You go in the ring against Goldberg. Yes, I know he's booked as basically superhero, but he's in his 50s. You know, he can't do the things that he used to do in the ring.
Yeah.
You see that when you watch his matches. And so you have this character, the Fiend, who's got so much mystique, is booked as like a force of nature, basically. Lose to Goldberg in 3 minutes, and you're like, okay, well, some of the shine's off now. And that's kind of like always a thing with Bray, seemingly, where they put him in a situation where, all right, they're onto some interesting stuff creatively. and then they kind of pull the rug out from under him. That seemed to happen all the time with him.
Yeah. It's like, man, we want to push this guy like to the moon, but they're to a degree. It's like, but if Goldberg comes in, we're gonna let Goldberg do whatever he wants because Goldberg doesn't want a job to a monster. It's like then you have to call an audible and find a different way out of that situation because you're just killing what the Fiend is doing at that point. Or give the Fiend his own island, the Fiend Island, and say, hey, here's 5 guys to hold you over for. I mean, they did that Randy Orton feud for ages, which I thought was kind of perfect. It's like it extended itself way too long, but if you shorten it by like 3 months or so, you get a good meaty feud with a guy who wants to work with you, an upper level guy like Randy Orton. There's no saying you couldn't have done that with the Fiend with any other number of guys, with upper level guys. You don't need the title and you tell an interesting story. You say, hey, Bray, go work with Drew for 6 months and you can get a lot out of it, So it's surprising, but it's also kind of not surprising given how start-stop they always were with the Fiend. But yeah, I mean, I hope, obviously number one on my mind is I hope Bray mentally is okay. I hope that he's in a good spot. I hope he's healthy and I hope he wants to professionally wrestle some more. And number two, as a fan of his, I don't see any other place beyond AEW as being the place. They seem to love guys who can come in with a ton of ideas and creativity. Yeah, you can talk about Impact. I feel like Impact's too small for him. I love Impact. You love Impact now. Impact's great. New Japan is terrific. But AEW's got to be the place, especially the fact, given how close he was with Brody Lee, that place celebrates Brody Lee every single week at the head of their main show. There's all sorts of great stuff going on there for him creatively. I would love to see him in AEW, but obviously, first and foremost, I'd love to see Wyndham do what Wyndham wants to do with his life.
Exactly.
But as a fan, it's okay to fantasy book.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of fantasy booking, let's fantasy book Ric Flair in AEW. Wrestling Inc. and Fightful are both reporting that Ric Flair has requested and has been granted his release by WWE effective today. Fightful Select, again, go subscribe to Fightful Select. Absolute best. Added that a frustrated Flair reached out directly to Vince McMahon to voice his displeasure about some recent booking decisions and requested his release. Sorry, I can't talk today.
What booking decisions? This time for reckless speculation. What is he talking about? What reckless? What booking decisions?
I can't remember if it was the Fightful thing or elsewhere where I read that he was not happy about the Lacey Evans storyline.
Really? Wow,
yes.
That's interesting. I would have thought that he would have been like shutting that down from the get-go if he wasn't into it. That's interesting. I actually kind of really like the stuff between him and Charlotte with regards to that story. I thought it was pretty strong stuff. But
so it was Fightful Select. Yeah, Fightful says Flair had been outspoken about his disdain for the Lacey Evans storyline.
Wow.
This year.
And obviously a lot of people, given that AEW, they've got Sting over there, they've got Tully, they got Arn, got all that. They got all those guys over there.
They just need to bring in RoboCop.
How about this? That's all you need. But let me offer this. What about Ric Flair in Los Ingobernables de Japón? Him,
That'd be good.
Naito, Sonata, Ticking Time Bomb. What do you say? You like that?
That's good.
Or is he more of a Bullet Club type guy?
No, I can see LIJ.
Yeah. Chaos. The Empire.
Mega
today.
Coaches.
The Mega Coaches. There you go. I like it. I have big things for their future. I mean, that'd be great to see him in AEW. That'd be terrific.
He'll be in AEW within 3 months. He's swerving Sting in some regard.
Are there 4 horsemen there to be had with? You got Tully, you got Arn, you got Rick. I mean, Sting was in the Horsemen, but then he got swerved. So he's got to know better at this point.
Bring in Sid, and they can bring in RoboCop.
Sid, right?
Bring in Sid.
Who else could you bring in? What about the
Paul Roma?
Barry Windham.
Yeah.
Was the other Windham a horseman? It was Barry, right?
Yeah, it's just Barry.
Barry Windham.
Yeah.
Roma's still around. He's still alive, right?
I think.
Right? Luger.
Yeah.
Luger. You can bring in. Doesn't Luger still live in Florida?
I don't know. Yeah, Paul Roma's still alive.
Malenko? You got Malenko there. You got like 8 horsemen there. You get Rick in there, man. How do you not just make all the money from that?
I know. Agreed.
Absolutely.
One last bit of news before we get to a Raw preview and answer some questions. So according to PW Insider, they're reporting that we shouldn't expect to see the man at SummerSlam, stating that Becky Lynch currently isn't factored into any plans for SummerSlam. And that, quote, the word going around at WWE TV tapings over the last week was that she would be returned to TV this fall, with October openly discussed. So that sounds like probably draft.
Wow. October. Ooh. Nobody tell Maggie that. Is Maggie still here? She's going to be mad. Yeah, what a bummer. I guess are they just like, I wonder what that's all about.
You know, maybe it's a situation where they were going to do her versus Bayley. Bayley unfortunately got hurt, and now they don't really like whatever creative plans they had in place. Like there's, you know, Sasha's going to be taking on Bianca at SummerSlam. Maybe they'll think, all right, we'll do that at SummerSlam. Maybe do a rematch because that's what WWE does the following pay-per-view, and then October, we can start working on, assuming that Becky and Seth or on SmackDown, start doing a program with Becky and Sasha.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this fall.
But like all things, WWE plans change all the time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know how this Sasha Bianca thing's gonna play out, but it could be a way to get Becky the title back, and then Bianca goes to Raw, maybe, if they want to flip things like that in the draft. But I guarantee, like the draft. I wonder if they have any hint of what they want to do with the draft yet, or if they're going to wait till like the day of.
Oh, probably the day of, man.
Yeah.
Probably the day of.
What about me? DMQ says, yeah, she'll be replaced by Gigi Dolan. How about that Wrestling News Now calling Bray Wyatt being going to AEW, being released by WWE?
Yeah, that's something else.
Man.
That's something else.
I'm telling you. Go subscribe to Wrestling News Now.
Maybe they're onto something.
They're onto something. They called Otis winning a couple years ago when I called it. Now
Really?
they got Bray. Yeah. They thought it was going to be Otis and Mandy, though. Wrestling News Now.
You're half right.
Best. Yeah, man.
We got a Raw tonight. Goldberg will return to Raw to address Bobby Lashley and MVP.
Oh, man. I hope they CM Punk him out of that building.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a fan of people taking over like that, but how great would that be?
That'd be pretty great.
I might actually watch
That would be
live.
pretty neat.
I'm gonna. It's gonna be like watching a car wreck. That Chicago crowd, because that's
it's gonna be
Raw
something
preview
else.
number one. Is they're in Chicago. They just, they are gonna be chanting some iteration of Bray Wyatt's name. What if that whole crowd just starts, like the entire show, they start singing "Got the Whole World in His Hands"?
The whole world in his hands. Yeah, I would not be surprised if
man.
that happens.
God
I would
dang.
not be surprised.
Also, in a championship contender match,
Yeah, that's how
Nikki
it was advertised.
ASH, a no-holds-barred match against Charlotte Flair.
And then Riddle to face a colossal challenge against Amos.
Ooh. Well, you going to say Bronson Reed there for a second. The colossal
Oh yeah, that would,
Bronson Reed.
that would work too.
But
That's his thing in
he's
NXT.
still in NXT.
He is. All right, you want to answer some questions?
Yeah, let's answer some questions. We've got a thread here on the Twitters. What's the first question today, Larson?
This is from Juan Guerrero Jr., Mr. Triple Mania himself. Says, this past Saturday, I attended a local Lucha Libre show, and the main event was Andrade versus Alberto Del Rio versus Carlito. I assumed Carlito was there to take the fall, and I was right. What are your thoughts in general on a third man being added to matches so the bigger stars don't lose? It's a standard wrestling trope. You got two guys or two women in a match, and then a third party is shoehorned into that match. The general assumption is that third party is going to take that pinfall or the loss.
Yeah. You know what? If the match itself is compelling, then I guess I'm cool with it. Why would they need Carlito in there to take the pin when you have Alberto Del Rio? Why doesn't that guy take the pin?
Yeah, you should be taking the pin.
He should totally be taking a pin. If I was Carlito, I'd be like, I don't think so. That's not cool. You would take the pin. Aren't you up on charges?
Wow.
Rich Hardesty says, I know the hot thing to assume these days is so-and-so to AEW. But with all these big names being released and some being swooped by AEW, is it a financially viable move to see them sign guys like Bray or Adam Cole when his contract expires? So my general response to a question like this is AEW knows their business a lot more than I would. So I'm not qualified to answer that. But I will suggest this. Tony Khan knows how to make money. And I assume that he's going to sign people that he knows he can make money signing them. So I think probably has to be a financially viable move to sign guys that he thinks he can make money from.
So far, his track record with signing former WWE talent has been pretty solid.
Pretty good track record so far.
But pretty good track record.
You know.
Rich Hardesty, I know. Oh, you already read that one. Sorry. B-Man, Rick Sparks. How would you book a return for Ronda Rousey after the next Mania?
Oh man, I'll go the Louis Dangoor route here, and you just hit her music and have her walk out, face off with whoever is champion. Ronda, you can kind of slot as a baby face or a heel. You know, she's above all that stuff.
We still need to see one-on-one her versus Becky Lynch. That still needs to happen.
Yeah, she'd come off and she'd come out and then she'd be the heel against Becky Lynch. Just hit her music, have her go out there, and everything would fall into place.
Yep. Kirsten, if Stone Cold started a film review podcast, what should it be called?
Man, I sent you that picture and I tweeted it out. If you ever get a chance to go to like a decent dollar store, because there's like a dollar store in like a nicer area over here, and it's like a nicer dollar store. Their DVD selection is outstanding because they're all for $1. I have like none of these titles. It's all stuff that'd be like in I don't know, a movie about Hollywood, like a comedy set in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
With like featuring some film producer played by, I don't know, like Steve Martin or something. And it's all these fake movie names, but they're real and they're available for 99 cents at the dollar store. So there was one called Basketball 316, but it's like a Christian basketball urban drama.
Is there any movie terms we could slot into DTA?
How
about don't trust anyone with your film reviews?
That's terrible. That's really
I know
bad.
It's terrible.
Film, movies. I'm sure chat will have something good. What do you guys got?
Probably way more clever than anything
that's all bad.
That I could come up with.
Oh, there you go. That's good. White Brownie has broken film sessions. I like that. That's good. Yeah, the broken film sessions.
Rob
Don't
Observer says, what will Ric Flair's podcast with son-in-law Conrad Thompson be called?
What was it called the first time? I know it wasn't with Conrad, but
was it just the Ric Flair show?
Was the Ric Flair show?
I thought.
It'd be styling and profiling. Styling and podcasting.
To be the podcast, you got to beat the podcast.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, to be the podcast. That's so ugly. Let's see here. Blake Elizondo. Of the people in the rumors and releases, Punk, Bray, Brian Cole, should any of them win the AEW title before Hangman? No. And they really need to, like, I still think the AEW title, like, I feel like the TNT title is going to end up being like the ex-WWE guy title or something, because that that AEW title should have this lineage: Hangman, MJF, Jungle Boy. That's what it should be, and that should be honestly for the next like 5 years. It should be for a very long time. Those are the guys you keep building, and then you also have guys like, you know, Punk, Bray, Brian Cole. They're, you know, either vying for the TNT title. The great thing about AEW, like I already said, they don't need titles for interesting stories.
They do a good job of coming up with interesting stories. It's one of the things they get right, that, you know, whether the stories were good or not is another thing entirely. But back in the Attitude Era, everybody had a story. If you're on TV, you had a story.
Yeah.
You know? NJWP, how could the releases this year or WWE's new attitude. For example, Nick Khan's influence bite them in the arse in the future. WWE may not see AEW as competition, but they could allow them to become the place where wrestlers with vision prosper. I mean, Vince has, I think, an idea of what he thinks pro wrestling is and what it needs to be successful now. And it seems like that vision doesn't include people that have really interesting creative minds, seemingly, you know? If the releases of Malachi Black, Bray Wyatt are be believed, you know, it seems like if you're running a place where you're you know, what you're doing is telling stories, you want good storytellers there to work for you. And by all accounts, it seems like Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black were good storytellers. It had ideas about how to tell new and interesting stories within the confines of professional wrestling. It just seemed like Vince really wanted to deal with that.
I'll frame the exact same thing, but not as much, but making it sound like not as much as a knock, because I feel like, again, he still has a stacked roster with guys who you can slot into stories that are written by their huge writing staff. You know, it's like, as long as you can tell the story that you're giving them to tell, then I don't see a problem with that. Now, are they able to give these people good stories? The track record's really spotty lately. There's some good stories. There's some really crappy stories. There are some that they just endlessly repeat. Charlotte versus Nikki Cross, endlessly until you get to SummerSlam. You know, there was that period towards the end of Thunderdome when, oh my God, Raw was like, what, 60% rematches, and it's unbearable. Yeah. It's unbearable. Yeah. So they still, they can release half of their roster and they'd still have a stacked roster. That's what happens when you hoard talent. There's a lot of great talent out there, and they have a lot of great talent still on their roster. It's a matter of letting their writers write cool stuff and making sure it gets to the television product. And if they can get to the point where their stories have a sense of urgency, when they avoid repetition, and they have cool moments based off of a long-term plan, then you'll see your ratings go up. It's just they lack that right now, and that's why their ratings go down.
Drastic go down. Fear and Loathing. With all the recent releases and talent becoming available, do Mothman and Nightbot have anything to worry about? Oh yeah, at some point, Mothman, he'll be future endeavored.
Wow. New rumor. Interesting. What about Nightbot?
That's definitely that's definitely be future endeavored.
Nightbot's gonna be future endeavored?
No, not Nightbot. That voice.
Oh no, Wrestling Channel News voice. Scary. Nast says, let's see. I'm trying to make sure none of these questions kind of mirror each other. He says, do you think the title of WWE guy should be reserved for people trained and built exclusively in the WWE system? I kind of feel like it's just people use that title kind of lazily. And it's like, you know, I guess like when Jericho hop shipped to WWE, in the message boards back then, did they say, oh, he's a WCW guy? Did you and I refer to him as a WCW? I don't remember like sort of labeling people like that, because WCW had been around for a while and WWE was
Jericho
around for a while.
Had been around for a while prior to that. It wasn't like he was trained at the power plant, you know?
Yeah, like if Goldberg,
like DDP was a WCW guy. Goldberg, a WCW guy. I mean, even I know Sting wrestled prior to WCW, but he made his name in WCW.
I saw Booker T as a WCW guy, but I don't feel like that stuff was used as a knock. The way like they use like that element of wrestling fandom uses it, which I think is silly, you know?
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, he's like, you're going to really call Andrade a WWE guy? Like, really? That guy was like busting his ass for probably 2 decades before he showed up in NXT. So I don't know. I think it's kind of silly to label anybody a this or that guy, because it's like, what does it matter? He's a big, he's a big star. if AEW is picking up names that they know they can make money off of after they had made built a platform for themselves on the WWE umbrella, how is that a knock? It's a silly thing to brand somebody a certain guy. They're a wrestler, they're talent, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Biff Top Johnny, which version of Johnny Gargano, John, do you think has the highest ceiling on the main roster? So you got DIY John, smiling NXT champion, heel North American champion, or the way John Gargano? I mean, like the way John Gargano has, I feel like we finally unlocked the full breadth of Johnny Gargano's personality, and it's outstanding. He's been doing great work.
I think the way Johnny Gargano is the most main roster suitable Johnny Gargano, because he can be heel, he can be face, he can be comedy, he could be serious. I think he fills all that stuff. What he can't be, unfortunately, is 6'2", which seems to be a problem for guys in WWE. I hope that's not the case. I hope that he has all the success wherever he goes.
Yeah. Dalen Dula, while sitting outside in the breeze, you were inspired to book a wrestling promotion around a character called the Oscillating Fan.
Oh, nice. I got that guy right there.
What wrestler do you think would most thrive in this role, a wrestler as the Oscillating Fan, and best embody the cooling presence and gentle calm of a regular home oscillating fan?
When I think of a calming presence, a cooling presence, I think of Keith Lee. He's got a very lovely voice.
Yes.
And he's a very calming voice, but then he could do really cool shit too, just like an oscillating fan.
Yeah. I mean, the oscillating fan just goes like this. So
I know, but it makes it cool.
The oscillating part of it, going back and forth.
Back and forth. Okay.
Back and forth.
Uh-huh.
So I think, granted now, no more BS, Paul White, because in WWE, heel, face,
good.
heel,
Okay,
face.
that's
He was
good.
oscillating the heel, face spectrum.
The spectrum.
That being said, you listen to him on commentary, he's got a very calming presence. He's got a very calming voice.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Paul White.
That's good. Claudio Gatan. What are 5 things that Bray could say in his first shoot interview? Do you think? I don't think he's gonna. I'd be kind of surprised if he did one.
I'd be pretty surprised.
He seems to. I think this dude knows that when he shows up, it needs to be under a cloud of extreme mystique.
Yep, 1,000%. I just had one here. Jonathan Faust, will Kyle O'Reilly be the new Triple H pet project if Cole leaves? I already feel like Kyle O'Reilly is.
He's already that.
He's already there.
Hey, I went to the store called Hot Topic. I think you should dress like that store is. I think I'm capturing the zeitgeist. Let's see here. Oh, God. This happened? Patrick J says, what do you think of the fans showing up to Rey Mysterio's house to get him to sign his merch?
Ooh,
I think he should be arrested. Don't do that shit.
Don't do that.
That's horrible.
Don't do that.
That's terrible.
Don't do that. Kane James, we talk about Hangman kicking out of the one-winged angel a lot, and I think he should, but should he hit Kenny with the one-winged angel?
Ooh.
And then we can have Kenny be the first to kick out of it? Or maybe Hangman first, then Kenny, same match. What are your thoughts?
Man, somebody hitting Kenny with a one-winged angel, that'd be cool. I hope they do that in their eventual match, man. Let's see here. Gareth asks, from any current promotion, who is your favorite ring announcer today? He says he personally loves Alicia Taylor from NXT. Oh, she's great. She's awesome.
Yeah, she is really good. She's really good.
Probably. It's probably Justin Roberts.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's really good. I miss what was that? What was Alberto's dude name?
Oh, Rodriguez.
What was his first name?
Rico?
Rico. Was it? Ricardo? He was good. I liked him.
He was good.
Let's see here. Hugh Longheavy, assuming Hangman wins the AW title at All Out, where does the story with the Elite go? Apparently, there's isn't there like a report that he's not even going to be at All Out now? Mm-hmm. That's kind of crazy. I guess it's not though. That's got to be. What's that?
Rodriguez.
Ricardo. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I imagine if that's true, if he's not going to be at All Out, they have some like super loss of confidence storyline for him.
Yeah, you'd have to think so.
Yeah. Oh man, Jorge D says, Steve, did you send your SummerSlam TikTok in? I forgot.
Oh, the deadline passed already?
I think is the deadline passed? Do we know? We're going to find out in our post show, because that's going to do it for us today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.